بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، ورجعنا لكم مقطع جديد ولعبة جديدة. خلونا نبدأ.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
اوكي، اذا الشخصية
Stanley
اسمها
worked for a
ستانلي.
company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk. Tell buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
يعني اللي فهمت ان ستانلي مشغول في عمله بشكل كبير جدا لدرجة انه ما انتبه لحياته، فالايام تمشي والشهور تمشي وهو مستمر على نفس العمل، انه كان سعيد.
And then one day something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.
اوكي، في يوم من الايام في حدث غريب.
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
وركز انه في ساعة لم يصل اي طلب او اي استدعاء او اي مقابلة او
Never in all his years at the company
في خلال كل السنوات هذه.
This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his
وانتبه انه ما
wits and
تحرك
regained
مكانه
his
لمدة
senses,
طويلة.
Stanley stood for a long time in one spot. It's part of a game. He likes to see how long he can go without dying. So far, he's doing excellent. And if he just stays right where he is, I'm sure he'll keep up that good momentum. Let's observe the genius at work.
أنا على حد علمي إنها لعبة ألغاز، لعبة تركيز. إذا كانت لعبة رعب أنا ما بلعبها من الآن. طيب أوكي، بدأت اللعبة. أوكي، هذا البي سي اللي كنا عليه. التحكم في الفارة والمشي في الكيبورد. أوكي أوكي، ما في شي حد تقريبا. شوف الباب هذا مغلق. إذا باين
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
اوكي، انا قررت اروح لغرفة الاجتماعات. يعني اعتقد انهم اجتمعوا كلهم هناك. اوكي، التحكم ممتاز. وغرفة الاجتماعات فينها؟ اتمنى ما تكونش لعبة رعب.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
اوكي، من اللي غلق؟ كل متكلم قلنا انا رحت الباب اليسار. طيب لو رحت اليمين؟
This was not the correct way to the meeting room,
Okay.
and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
خلاص
Perhaps
رجعوني.
he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
446. اتمنى ما يكونش فيها خرشات. اوكي.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yeah, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
يا شباب، احس اني بوقف اللعبة. لا الصوت تغير. والله الان انا مرعوب طبعا. اوكي، الصوت ما يطمن. الساعة الان 5:05 فجر. سحرت وصليت.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
طيب بسم الله. قال اني يعني اذا تعديت الباب. اوكي، لا انا خلاص ما بخاطر، بمشي ورا اللي يروي القصة. اوكي، على اساس ان احنا رجعنا يعني.
Yet there was not a single person
هذه
here
غرفة
either.
الاجتماعات.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
يقول ان انا قررت ان انا اطلع فوق بمكتب المدير لعله وعسى احصلهم هناك. امبلوي. كم الرقمي انا 427 مش عارف. اوكي داتا شو. والله في كلام كثير. اوكي امشي بس. اوكي اول باب ينفتح.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and
خلاص
got back on track.
خلاص. اوكي هو قال نطلع فوق. ايش رايكم ننزل تحت؟
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
هو يقول انا طلعت فوق. اطلع ولا خلنا نجرب ننزل. انا من الان اذا اللعبة فيها خرشات انا بوقفها بلعبها وقت والناس صاحيين مش وانا لحالي. انا ايش ناقص والله فجأة. اوكي سيارة.
Just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy.
لحظة 11
And then
12.
something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my
يا
coworkers
راجل
blinking mysteriously out of existence
أنا
in
كنت
a
هنا.
single moment for no
هيا تغير
reason at all.
المكان.
None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For
لا.
example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
اوكي هذه
Why did
اللحظة.
doors close automatically behind him
حتى هو
wherever
يقول
he
ليش
went?
الابواب تتغير
And for
اوتوماتيك.
that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Okay.
No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that
والله
it had been
جسمي
on the
قشعر
tip of his
والله.
tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming!
يا راجل
Yeah.
صيح أنت
This
الثاني.
is all a dream.
كل هذا حلم.
Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job.
ليتني
He wasn't
طلعت فوق.
crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
يقول إنه تخيل إنه يطير وفجأة بدأ يطير يا شباب.
Soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
اوكي نفس السؤال
Now the
يعني
voice
ستانلي
was
يقول ليش في
describing itself
صوت
being
في
considered
راسي
by Stanley, who found it
ويكلمني في كل حاجة
particularly
أسويها.
strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
والله صوتك يجيب
While he thought it
القلق
all very
وربي.
odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How
Yeah.
could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself?
أبوي
Believing that
أنا
if
نقول إنه
he's
مش حلم.
asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he
اوكي
invited himself to wake up.
ولكن أنا اقتنعت إن هذا حلم بحاول
The
أغمض
blanket on his skin,
أساس إني أصحى
the
من النوم.
press of the mattress on his back, the
Okay.
fresh air of the world outside this
هواء نقي وخارج
Let
المكان
me
هذا
wake up, he
جعلني
thought to
أصحو.
himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over.
يا أخي اللعبة
Let
خرشة
me
من
go back to
بدايتها.
my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, It's all I want. I want my
الآن يتمنى أن يرجع للكمبيوتر ويضغط هذا فقط.
All I want is my life exactly
يرجع
the way it's
لحياته
always
زي
been.
ما كانت.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
أوكي طيب هي. أوكي بسم الله بسم الله. لا ما.
Stanley began screaming.
يلعن
Please, someone
أبوك.
wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I
أم
have an
الخرشة يا
office. I am
شيخ.
real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must
والله
be
جسمي
real. I must
فجت
be.
من
Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
الله يلعن استغفر الله العظيم اللهم إني صايم.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
أنا أقول لك قصة حرمة اسمها
Mariella woke up on
Mariella.
a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work.
أوكي وش
But
هذا؟
on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
ما فهمت إنهم حصلوه طايح وهذه بلغت وحمدت الله إنه مش عارف إيش أوكي ممتاز رجعنا. أنا مش عارف هل انتهت اللعبة وعادولي من البداية
All
أو
of his co-workers were
أوكي.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
كأني عدتها من جديد على أساس أروح الآن غرفة الاجتماع. الآن بمشي على كلامه بحذافيره. أوكي وين أروح؟
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
نروح اليسار ولا تزعل ولا تزعل تامر أمر ولا الخرشات اللي فعلتها. أوكي غرفة الاجتماعات.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's
أوكي
office,
بنطلع فوق
hoping he might
بمكتب
find an
المدير.
answer there.
يمكن نجد الإجابة فوق.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
قلنا بلاش لغافة نمشي أوكي إيش الحركات يا سلام. أوكي هذا منو؟ اكسكيوتيف باثروم. حمام مش عارف اسمه اكسكيوتيف. مرحبا مرحبا شباب. كمبيوتر ممكن نحصل فيه حاجة. كمبيوتر طافي. ايش هذا؟ مش عارف والله غرفة أقسم بالله رعب.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing.
Okay.
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
لا يا شباب اتمنى ما تكون شو لعبة رعب، تكون بس كذا يعني
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
اوه يا شباب، لحظة رجلي. اوكي، ايش في يا شباب؟ اوف، الصدق خايف والله.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
شوف كاتبين هنا مخرج او الهروب. بسم الله، هو بيتغلق الباب.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
أقول لك هل يعني اعتقد بيكتشف السر العظيم؟
Now the monitors jumped their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
يراقب كل الموظفين، كل موظف له شاشة لحاله.
Many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
اوكي، وين انا؟ لا اله الا الله. اوكي، ايش علي اسوي؟ اوكي كم انا 400 وكم؟ 27 هناك. هذيك، هذا مكتبي. اوكي، وين اروح؟ هل اطفي الكاميرات؟ ما اقدر اشوف على حاجة. او في ممر عفوا. اوكي، خلاص اعتقد بوقف هنا، لان الصراحة يعني اللعبة رعبتني بالاصوات واتوقع نخلي التتمة في المقطع القادم ان شاء الله. والسلام.